Hey campers, George here, back in the man cave. Doing some homework. Trying to figure out just what this is. Because it's the same as these three. Look at the handles on these things. Very cool. I don't know what they called though. The knife style. Looking in the book, this is what I came up with. Let's check it out. So what we're talking about is these three Serpentine, two-blade jacks, right? Look at it. Look at the handles on these guys. Beautiful handles, right? We could fix these guys up. Unfortunately, this guy, which is very cool, the colors, ain't gonna make it. Look at that. Oops. Huh. I don't think we can fix that. And this guy is a Thornton. Sound familiar, right? Got a couple of those. Fixed them up the other day. They actually worked out pretty good. And this is a folding serpentine two-blade jack. I think. So very cool. You know, the blades aren't too bad. In fact, they're pretty good. Look how good those blades are. A little bit of a dip there, but that's something we could take away without taking much off the blade, right? Pen blade, doing pretty good. Everything else is good, except for that. Then we got this guy. Look at that. I love this color, right? Is this color not cool? Look at that. Same thing. Serpentine, two-blade jack with these toenail thingies on the bolsters. Brass liners, silver divider. See that? And this one, well, I don't know who made it. But I've got to tell you, these are pretty close. I'm thinking Thornton. I'm wondering if it just wore off and I can't see what it is, because it does say made in the US of A. Now the handle's in really good shape, okay, except there. You see that? Got kind of melted off, right? The blade, same thing again. We got that little dip in it, but we can fix the handle. I think if I just put some clear JB weld on there, sand it down, it'll smooth it off. It won't look as obvious, but it'll be nice and smooth. They're exactly the same. Look at that. This one, like I said, is a Thornton. This one, I suspect, if you look at the choil here, okay, nice and round, you look at the choil on this one, kind of dips in. Huh. Anywho, these two, cousins at least. Then we got this guy. Look at this guy. This is pretty cool, right? Look at that. Two-blade. What? Wait. Folding serpentine two-blade jack. Pretty beat up. I mean, that pen blade's not too bad. You can see you got that dip in the middle. Wondering if this was a whittler for somebody or something like that, because they tended to use that middle. And you can see it, yeah. Look at that. There's a lot of steel missing off there. But the handle, look at that, just white. Silver everywhere, white and silver. Right. And this one, Thornton. Yeah. Where is it? Thornton. Right? Pretty good jack there. Can't fix the handle on this guy. So maybe we can replace the blade and take this guy, put this guy's blade on it, and we'll be complete. This guy, maybe later on we find a better blade or that we can put on there, and maybe a G10 handle, just a plain colored G10 handle. I love this brass. Look at that. That's the other difference. If you look at this guy, brass liners, steel divider. Everything's brass on this guy. This guy, all steel. This blade we can fix. Just needs to be cleaned up a little bit. I mean, there's a bit missing there. Nothing like this guy, though. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this blade and put it on this guy. We'll just clean this guy up and make him all sharp and shiny and touch up the blade there so it's a little bit, well, you don't have that dip. Don't think it'll be that obvious if we do it right. Two Thorntons and an I don't know. So if you're wondering who Thornton knives are, pretty interesting. They come from about the 1940s. Yeah, 1940s. So Thornton was only around for a couple of years, and they were actually owned by Federal Knife Company, who, same thing, were only around for a couple of years, and Federal was actually bought by Colonial Knife Company. Oh, the horror. The only thing we can know about this is that although it was owned by Colonial, this was made way back by Thornton, who came under the Federal Knife Company back in the 1940s. So there you go. Pretty interesting. Didn't know how powerful Colonial was. They bought a lot of companies, took them over. If only we could figure out the dating, right? This makes it easy because they bought a company who was stamping at a certain period, so we know that period. So 1940s, very cool. So here's the plan. Get this guy all cleaned up, clean that up, make him sharp and shiny. This guy, we need to replace this, and we're going to replace it with this blade. They're both Thorntons, so we're ahead of the game there. And then this guy, we'll put him aside and wait and see what we can do with it and land up with two nice sharp and shinies, right? What I'm going to do is fill that in. While that dries, we'll work on the other guys that we're going to replace the blades on. So I'm going to do that real quick, fill it with some JB Weld clear dry and let it sit and get on with the other ones. We'll let that set. Here's a tip. This stuff will get rid of all the stuff that you have on here and keep it clean so it'll last. You won't have lumps everywhere. Okay, so we got to take this blade off and replace it with this one, just like that. I'm wondering if we should just replace both blades because these two are way better condition than these guys. So we have to take it apart anyway. We might as well use them both. So we're going to do that now. This one I'm just going to try and drill this out, punch it through, see if we can do the same thing here. I'm a little nervous of it because I might just cut through this one because I don't want to damage the material on this one. As always, before you start working on them, these blades, check them. These ones are pretty dull. Not too worried about this, but these ones are actually sharp. I'm going to tape them up before we start messing with this. Now if you look at this, you see how big the pins are on here? They're smaller on this side. So I'm going to file that down as much as I can and then we'll try and punch it through. So now we got to get these out, and the problem here is that when I did this, I cracked it. You can see there. I do not want to crack this, so I think I'm going to cut it. Always wear glasses. thought I cracked it because, interestingly enough, this came apart as well, and this was a crack that was there already, so it just pushed through. Probably a good thing because it makes things easier to get apart. I had to punch it down a little bit further, the pin, just so we could get these apart. Let's take them apart. Now that we have this opened up, we'll take the pins out, we'll leave this pin in, and we can clean up all the dirtiness so it'll look nice and shiny. Get a better clean this way. Now we can clean these up. We'll be able to clean them up nicely. Got a lot more room to work with. Let's do that. It's pretty bad rust on this. I think I'm going to dip it just for a couple of minutes just to loosen up the rust. We'll clean it off and start polishing it up. Got some evaporust. Now, if I couldn't get to underneath of the actual handles, I wouldn't dip it, because what I've found is the rust here really can mess it up. But I have access, so we'll let it sit. So while that soaks and the other one dries, I just got to take this load to the dump, and my neighbor will be bringing some more out, and I'll take that for her. Gonna go and wash that off with some cold water, with soapy water. Then we'll bring it back and start working on it. Gotta recycle without spilling. Okay, I went to take another load of tree stuff to the dump and landed up having to help out my neighbor for the rest of the day doing the same thing. 5 loads later, here we are. This has all been washed, and you can see all the rust is off. So now we're going to go to 1,000, then 10,000. Don't want to do more than that, because we still got a pin and everything and all that good stuff, and put it together and then finish cleaning it up. So we're going to do that now. As you can see, the boss came in for the morning inspection before work gets done, make sure everything's safe. Probably going to take a nap now. It was a hard day. So what I'm doing here is I'm just cleaning up the edges of the springs. The main part you're looking at is what you're going to see when the knife's put together, but you want to make sure the springs are going to move smoothly. There's nothing catching. It just makes everything a little smoother. So here we are now, and you can see everything's a little shinier, so that when you close the knife and you look into the well, it looks nice and clean and kind of sort of shiny, which is a good effect. So we're here now. Now we got to look at putting the knife together. Another concern I have is this is really wobbly. I saw this when I was taking the pins out. Can you see there? The pin is actually gone into the handle. You see how big the pin is here, but on this side, they didn't make the pin. They didn't pin it to peen out as much as this side. And what's happening is it's pulling through the handle. Not sure what to do there, but I think I'm going to put it together and we might just replace that one. We'll see how my pinning does, which is always hit and miss. Remember when you put a knife together where your blades were. the nail necks are kind of important. If I put this one here and this one here, this big blade is going to be in the way of the nail neck of the other one. So just make sure you have that in the right place. So I'm just going to use these nails to hold it in. They're smaller in the holes, it gives you a little bit of room. The springs have tension on them, so if you have a little bit of room you can get them through. So what we said we were going to put this guy at the back and this guy like that, so when it closes on the springs here we can get to both nail necks. So I'm just going to put that pin through. Whoops. And of course you want the spring sits behind like that, and that's where your tension is. Once you put that pin in, the spring will be tensioned, and you can see that when I close it, that's just there because the pins are too small, popped out behind the springs. I have access to both nail necks when it's closed, so we're good right now. So now what I'm going to do is put a pin in here, and we'll see what happens here. You see it's popping through back and forth. So we've got a pin in there. I'm going to pin this over as much as possible and see how it works. You have to be careful you don't bend the pin, so just the weight of the hammer. So you can see it's pinned over quite a lot. I'm just going to tap it down. I think that might be big enough to hold it. Now I've got to trim the other side. I found this really thin piece of steel. A couple of you in the comments said that if you use this you're not going to pin it too tight, and what you're going to do is you're going to put it in here so that when you pin this tight you have a gap. Now it might be a perfect gap, or you can just touch it up afterwards. If you go too tight, you're stuck. It's going to take a lot of pinning because that hole is pretty big. So there we got the nail in. It took a long time. My desk is not very hard. I gotta have to figure that out. Losing my voice again. They're a little loose, but you can see we have pretty good snap even with a too small a pin in there. Now we got to get that in, and that we have to squeeze everything together. A part I don't like doing. You want to round off your pin pointy. When I do this, the shape of the handle, it's not dead straight, so you can't just put it in and tighten it up. You want to be careful, you might break the handle. I like to put it in at an angle where the tightest, the most sticking out is, and slowly, let me show you, push in the springs, and you can see that pin just dropped out. I have this pokey thing, have no idea where I got it, and tighten these up, and it drops in. And if you look, you'll probably be able to see through there. So you can see I just pinned the pin over on one side so it won't drop through. Oh, look at that, straight in. Wow. I have to be careful I don't split that any more than it is. Remember we had that problem here. I'm going to see if I just tap it some more, make it tighter, and see if that'll help. Not a lot. Well, we'll see if that holds. Now we got to clean this up. You can see you got a half stop and then it snaps in. And it closes pretty good. The problem is we still have that gap. That's not good. So we're going to have to very carefully bring it tighter together without messing up the snap. We tightened up. There's still a slight gap, but I don't want to really go any tighter than that. It is tight all the way across the liners, except they're just at the ends. And I'm worried that if I do it too much, we're going to lose the walk and talk. So we have it together. Kind of. Problem is on these, the pins are actually sticking out. I can feel them there. I'm going to file them a little bit just to round them off a little bit so that they're not sticking out like that. I've got to try and do it without messing up. Okay, we got them a little bit better. They're not sticking out anymore. Now we're going to start cleaning this scale up. Try and get rid of some of the scratches and things on it. If you look at it, there's just some nicks and that. So I'm going to go over it with 1,000 and let's see what happens. So we got rid of some of the obvious scratching and that. Now we got to finish up the blades here. I'm just going to go over these with 10,000, see how they do, and then we're going to look at the other guy because this will be ready for sharpening. And there we are with the 10,000. It's cleaning up very nice. I like this knife. I like a white handle. I gotta admit, it's a very cool handle to have. So now all we have to do to this guy is put mothers on and sharpen. Let's have a look at that other guy that's been roasting away. So here's the other guy. Remember, we filled in that hole. And I also put some around the pins because there was like gaps. And because there's gaps in the pins, I wanted to fill them to stop them from doing anything like splitting or anything like that. Now I'm just going to go lightly with the file to get rid of the excess and try and level it out just to start. And then we'll go to the heavier grit sandpaper and work our way down. So I've got some 320 grit here. Just going to go over lightly. And you can see the white part is where the dips are. Oh well. So I went over everything with 320 really quickly just to get rid of the nastiness. So now we're going to go to 1,000. Actually, I think I'm going to use 2,000 and just go over the whole thing, and then we'll go to 10,000 and then mothers. Now I noticed these pins are actually lower than the handle. Makes me think that these two have the same type of material. It's not quite hard enough. Probably wasn't a good idea. It's not as strong as it should be. But hope springs eternal. And we're off to the races again. I'm not going to bore you with it. I'll get it done and show you the 2,000 and then 10,000. So there's the 2,000. It's starting to shine. The problem I'm having is this whole pinning issue. It's really ugly. It's even worse than mine. The other thing is, you've got these really nice brass liners, okay? Then a steel center line. I think these should be brass. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to show you, you just saw the process I went through. I'm going to put brass pins in here and put it back together, and let's finish it up. I just think it's a better job than just carrying on with the way it is. That's just me. So, things were going swimmingly. Everything was going just fine. Started pinning. And that broke. Sometimes you just have to walk away. I don't have a liner to match that. Maybe one day I will. So this will go into a bag of bones, and hopefully we can find that liner. So I was getting ready to put it back in the bag of bones, and while I was looking in the box, remember this guy? We stole the blade from it. I think I'm going to take a liner from here. Okay, looks like we're back in business. We got this one to replace this one, and this one to replace the silver middle liner. It's going to have all brass. Maybe there's light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, major recovery. Lucked out there. So here we are, cleaned it up. We're at 10,000 right now, grit. And you can see cleaned up very nice. I like the way this looks. We got brass everywhere. Always a good thing. Most times. So we got lucky. Kind of sort of pleased with my pinning. I'm getting better, I think. So when you're doing it by hand and having to clean it by hand, you don't get that same result that you get on a band grind, where you can get really fine and grind everything down to line up. I don't have that. I like to work with my hands, so here we are. Kind of like the handle, very nice. We're going to hit everything with mothers right now. And of course, same thing with this guy. Just need some mothers, and hopefully we can sharpen them. This one's pretty sharp as it is, but just clean it up. This one needs a good sharpen, so, and then we be done. Woot! So I'm just putting some mothers on here. There's a quick rub. You can see the difference. So we'll be going over everything on this. And here we are here with mothers. You can see it likes to shine everything, even the handle. Nice consistent shine. I really like these knives. They're growing on me, all these fancy handles, so it needs to be sharpened. Time to do this guy. Very nice. And here we are with this guy. Cleaned up, very nice. Look at that. Even the handle, got a good solid shine on it. Hey! Very happy with this guy. Was a disaster that we managed to recover from. That happens never. Time to sharpen him. So on this guy you can see, if you look closely, we've got a divot here. So I want to clean that up, smooth that out so it's a little bit more consistent, doesn't have that little dip. So I'm going to use 320 on it, then we'll clean it up and go to 800 and then strop. Close enough. I like 17, we 0.6. I like an angle of 17, thereabouts between 15 and 17. You saw we're at 0.4 here, so we needed to adjust. I put it at 16.4, so we're pretty close. 320, let's try and get rid of that grind out there. Don't know if you can see that, but there's a slight shine along here. It disappears and comes back. That's where we got to get it to. Here you can see where I've been grinding away and it hasn't touched the black line yet. Can you see that? You can see where I've ground into it, silver, and then the black line. We're just getting to it. We still got to take all this off. Persistence pays off. So here we are now. You can see I've gone past that divot right there. Now you remember this is only one side of the blade, and I've got to switch it over and do it again, and hopefully these will reduce and eventually all become even. So now I've turned it over and marked it. Here you can actually see the peeling, so much metal I've taken off. But we're getting pretty consistent now. I want to flip it over, give it a couple of swipes and see how close we are. I don't want to take any more metal over, so I'm going to change to 800. I'm going to strop it now and see how we do. Let's give her a try. Well, it's a lot better. Doesn't have that obvious dip in it there. Very nice. That'll work. Now we'll do this one. So this guy, I just literally swiped a couple of times with 800 and then stropped. It was sharp. Maybe I have made it unsharp. Humanity. I just got to learn how to use a knife. Very nice. Let me do the same with this blade. So there you go, campers. We got us two nice little cutters. Look at that. Cleaned up very nice. I really like these jacks. You know, I'm getting more and more into them. I got a lot of them. Didn't really realize that, and they're fun to fix. This guy, I don't know what I did, but that little bolster broke off. I don't know. I probably did something. Just saying. Anyway, we got lucky. I thought I was done with it. Everything's brass now. Came out very nice. Cleaned up nice. Look at this handle. I love this stuff. It's kind of soft though, and that might be a problem. Blades cleaned up nicely. And this guy, same thing. Cleaned up very nice. Really like that. You know, the blade took a lot of work to get it fixed, but we got it done. Nice white handle. Can't beat a white handle. And I suspect this is the same material, I think. When you pin using the handles with this material, you got to be careful. It'll crack, or it wears away. It's not that strong. It's, you know, wood is pretty forgiving. G10 and stuff like that is strong. You know, you can pin into it no problem. You just got to be careful with this stuff. So they worked out well. I think my pinning's getting better. It looks like somebody actually cared. And very happy with these. They turned out well. Been a long 10 days, I can tell you that. And we're not even done. Talking about the mess outside. That big tree that fell, it actually took down 2 others with it the second time it fell. Big mess in my neighbor's yard. Been helping her clean it up. We've been to the dump about 10 loads. We've still got more to go. We're going to be doing that right now, as soon as I'm done showing you these. So there you go. All very exciting. Really like the way these turned out. And you will be safe out there, especially when you're doing stuff like yard cleanup and that. I can't tell you how many scratches and bumps and bruises I'm getting. And of course, I cut myself again. 2 videos in a row. Got a lot going on. Got to be careful. Pay attention. And don't forget, like, share, subscribe. You know the story. Pretty sure I'll be back. Trying to get videos out in between doing all this stuff and work. I've been putting shorts out because, you know, some days I don't have time to do this stuff. And other priorities. So there's that. Channel update coming. Stay tuned. Just saying. Thanks for watching. Always appreciated. Thank you for the support with all that's going on. We'll see you again soon.